Welcome to the Scott Harness Podcast.
Well, hello, everybody. So glad you're joining us today for today's podcast. I want to say that today's going to be exciting and a privilege, but here's what I'm going to say. I actually think my pain is going to be your gain. I think that's what's going to happen today. So, it started out as, inviting my daughters in for us to just kind of discuss, kind of parenting style that I might have, but I really feel like it's going to devolve into a roast. That's what I really think is going to happen today. So you're going to enjoy it, but we are going to talk about, we're going to talk about dads and daughters today, and what does that look like? And we're going to try to share with you, maybe some more interesting perspectives coming from the daughter's perspective, and I may try to shine a light on a few things too, but I got a feeling that we're really probably going to get a chance to see every mistake I've ever made, and so you'll get a chance to know that. So if you've wanted to know what I've done that was silly, embarrassing, or wrong, then you just need to stick with us for a little bit, because you're going to get to hear a lot about it, I would say. As always, like, subscribe, hit that bell. The notifications will come to you. We would really, really love to hear from you. Leaving a comment is a big deal for us because we take those seriously. And as much as we enjoy, just producing these, we really enjoy connecting with people and the opportunity to kind of talk to y'all and, correspond. If you need a prayer request or you just want to talk to us, you want to share with us a question, we're in. We'll jump on it. But we just love hearing from you. Just even saying hi is a really cool thing. So I don't want to, delay this except for maybe a little bit. But anyway, with no further ado, we're going to kind of go around the room and let me introduce my daughters to you. First, straight across from me is my oldest daughter. This is Faith Gill. And Faith is... she's an interesting little thing. It's going to be great. She is going to be the steering wheel, I think, for all things that will injure me today. So it's going to be fun.
Never.
And across the room, you have my daughter Hope, and she is in college right now. By the way, Faith is married. She has 2 fur children. One is a gigantic, looks like a dinosaur. Anyway.
So cute.
So yeah, she's something else. And then there's Hope rather, and Hope is see, it's already going to start.
Only 2 minutes in.
So yeah, exactly. Already messed somebody's name up. Hope's in college. She's at UCA, and so she'll have plenty to say. And then Lainey, the youngest of my daughters. She's not the youngest child we have, but she's the youngest of my daughters. And Lainey is Lainey will probably have plenty to say as well. So anyway, what I thought we would do, I don't know. Let me just kind of defer. Faith, how do you think we ought to kind of start this thing out? How should we do it? I mean, as you're kind of rattling off the accolades of the things that I've done well and how awesome I am. That's right, greatness. As we're getting ready to give out this Father's Award.
Okay. I think we should start with some things you always say.
Okay.
And Hope mentioned one earlier. What did you say?
It's like 10-second one.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of hard to explain. Literally any situation ever, Dad is always like, if you don't smile in the next 10 seconds, I won't tickle you, or I won't ground you, or I'll believe that you're actually mad. That's the top one. I'll believe that you're actually mad if you don't smile in the next 10 seconds. And I don't. Hey, I lasted one time.
I think it's like the longest 10 seconds of your life, and all things are fair game in that 10 seconds for him.
Well, usually they're like mad. They've got that, that angry face on, and you just got to make sure they know they're not really mad.
If in the next 10 seconds you don't smile, and then Hope and Noah say, "Hey, kid, I'll do this too." I'm not laughing, Dad. That was priceless, huh?
Face.
That's what y'all looked like. You just want you to know.
I'm really a proud husband.
That was excellent.
Another thing that Dad always did. Let's think of some things.
Some things we can't say.
Like what?
Some of the jokes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not true.
Dad counts down Christmas, starting at like the day after Christmas. Everything goes back to when Christmas is gonna be able to be here again. He's like, "Oh my gosh, it's spring. It's getting colder. It's almost Christmas." You're like, when are we gonna watch some hot chocolate? When are you gonna watch Christmas movies and drink hot chocolate? Not in May, Dad.
That's just a
is the one he wants to
364-day advent calendar, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. It's Scrooge. That's my
Yeah,
favorite by far.
Worst movie ever, but it's okay.
No, the Albert Finney one with the singing. That's the best. I like life.
No.
Yikes.
You don't want me to sing?
No.
Oh my gosh.
You're not that kind of
British
pastor.
accent.
No, I'm not. I didn't get that other piece of talent. So Hope, let me ask you this: What would you say? What would you say is one of the best? What's one of the best things I've ever done for you?
Oh, let her dig deep. Give her 10 minutes.
Did you see see what I did there? I've turned this puppy.
I think that's a biased question.
Nope.
Wait, you go first.
Oh, I
Oh,
bet.
there we go.
Hope's been mistreated since birth, by the way.
I didn't say that. Just the best is a big question.
Well, I would say, in a very serious manner, the best thing.
Oh, I got it.
Continue on.
No, keep going.
Don't let us stop you.
No, keep going.
Okay,
Because you might be saying the same thing.
I doubt it. I would say the best thing is, well, number one, you were in our lives consistently. Number two, we always got to laugh. Number three, we got in trouble. You would always turn around and like, get over here, little booger. You just got beat down, but here, get over here, little booger. You want to go get some ice cream? It's like, am I
I
still
think I
in
got
trouble?
a different end of that stick because that never happened to me.
You just got money.
I never got from dad. From dad?
From
I don't
mom.
think I ever got money from dad.
But anyway,
You want to bet?
that money goes together, honey.
Yeah. Mom don't have her own account.
Well, yeah, but you didn't give it to me.
So what was yours answer, Hope?
Wait, you're done?
I could keep going, but go ahead.
I don't remember what you said, but I was gonna say, like, well, obviously just raising us in church and with God, but also like whenever I was a kid, I didn't really have to like, you know, like the sad stories where like the dad was never there, but the mom was like at the basketball games and stuff like that. You were always at everything, like every award show. You and mom were both at.
Word show.
The Grammys.
When Hope
I
got
like
all their
You're gonna make
accolades.
Scott cry.
Let's
I like
just
it.
say Hope got a lot of awards in school. That number 10 in her class with a 4.0 GPA.
Oh, for the love.
Oh my.
And then we're failing college. So anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter till you get to that point, does it? Lainey, what you got?
I think mine is kind of along the lines of that too.
You can't steal.
Whoa. No, I said along the lines. I'm just gonna explain myself.
She's original.
Anyway, well, I mean, as y'all know, that my father passed away when I was 4, and so I've never really had that stable father figure in my life, and I think like the best thing is having that stability now. And every single day, whenever I come home, or whenever you come home, Scott, I like you say, "Well, how was your day?" And then like some people don't ask that,
Yeah.
and like the first thing that they say to you. And I just love that I can come to church and like know that Scott's going to be there and everything like that. Yeah.
It's cool.
Plus, I'm your favorite parent. You're always saying.
Okay. No.
So let's get off the accolades.
Yeah. No one's
It's too much. It's
I don't know what
too
accolades.
His
positive.
head is growing
Yeah.
twice the size.
We
right
can't
now.
get him out of here.
Yeah.
Let's move to funniest moments.
Oh wow.
Because
PG.
what?
PG.
Are any of them PG?
There's honestly.
Okay, funniest moments for him or funniest moments for us? Because sometimes we laughed when he wasn't.
I think either is worth
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go Hope.
Go. No, I don't have one
Oh.
yet.
Well, I think there have been a couple funny moments, but one of the funniest moments that we still laugh at is Mom and Dad decided to buy an RV to take on vacation. And we spent majority of our lives trying to go on vacation, and mom and dad, they could never get it backed in. For some reason, there is no mathematical equation
very true.
to get the RV backed in. So whether mom drove and dad told her where to steer, or whether dad drove and mom told her where to steer, it never got in there straight.
And then when we were driving to camp one time, and the whole side of the RV just flew off on the highway, and Dad was like, "I thought I fixed that."
And he literally duct taped it back on. Yeah, because that's all we had. But every time we would get to the campground.
Well, first, he probably didn't even know where he was going half the time.
No, mom had to help with that. So then we finally get there, and then we go to back in, and every single time mom would end up in a fight with dad, and they'd be slamming doors and screaming at each other, and we're still not backed in. Us kids are like, so are we going back home?
That
Or
happened quite a bit as children.
Let's go to the next subject.
any vacation, we could pretty much tell. It
but
was not gonna
now
end well.
the RV. Every time someone mentions an RV, I have to laugh. I know we couldn't back it in. Hope, what you got? Or Lainey?
He's gotten like not as funny with his old age.
Oh, that was a
Oh my gosh.
Roasted.
I'm kidding. Okay.
I
I don't see the funny part really. I mean, I feel like he's more funny at work than at home.
probably because he's always having to get onto the boys. But I think
true.
like anytime like dad tries to be like adventurous and like spontaneous, it always ends up working out. But well, I mean not always, but a lot of the time it ends up working out. It's just like getting to the working out part. There's something happens along the way that doesn't work. That was not English.
Yeah, that made no sense.
Like there's some funny part that always happens in the process.
A good example of that is when dad took mom to that bike ride and she fell off of her bike and mom is crying and what's
Dad
dad's
videos
reaction? Dad videos it, turns a chipmunk voice on. I need to find the link. We got to add it in the description because it's so
Oh my
funny.
gosh, one time dad was in a kayak and he was like, "Oh my gosh, we're in a kayak. It's going to be so much fun, blah, blah, blah." And we were in the lake, in the swimming part of the lake, because this is when we didn't have a boat. And dad got stuck with the canoe turned upside down and he couldn't get his legs out. And when he came up, he was like all frantic and it was so funny.
And I promise you, Hope didn't lift a
it was
finger.
so funny. I didn't know he was stuck. I mean,
I
he's
nearly
underneath
died.
I was
water.
about to say he almost drowned.
Yeah, almost
and you're
drowned.
laughing.
It
Yeah.
was so
Okay,
funny.
last Christmas,
Uh-oh.
I gotta find this picture. And dad gets some glasses from his mother.
Oh,
That look,
he still has them.
that look identical
yeah,
to his
I
father.
love those glasses. They're my favorite.
And he puts them on. He starts walking around. It is literally his dad, and all the grandkids are freaked out. They don't want to be around dad because he's scared. It's always something like that.
So let's generalize this a little bit. Let's talk about dads and daughters. If it, based on your experience, what do you all feel like that maybe you see that's missing as far as dads are? So there's dads tuned in. What kind of advice would you give a dad that has daughters? What do you think one of the better things or one of the most important things he could do, like in his daughter's life?
Girls are sensitive. Words are really not hurt. I mean, English, please. Words are really hurtful
Yeah.
to girls, especially coming from their dads and their moms.
Does it hurt more when it comes from your dad, Hope?
More than
Your mom.
Yeah.
no, it's pretty equal.
But mom just doesn't give them. She's not as harsh. Dad can be
My mom?
harsher.
Are we talking about our moms?
Yeah, I don't know.
We only have one.
That'd be a
But are
plot
we talking
twist.
about moms in general?
Plot
Surprised.
Sister wives, different episode.
Turning. I'm sorry.
So, do you think it's more hurtful? Do you think dads can inflict more pain, or you think it's equal between the mom and the dad?
I think it's pretty equal.
Yeah,
But dads are normally,
more
The
demonstrative, more
enforcers.
aggressive.
I can't
Enforcers,
speak
yeah.
today. Dads are like men, so they say usually, because like moms, I feel like kind of get it. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah.
but dads sort of mean.
Well,
I'm,
there's
not,
a
I'm
little,
not talking about my
there-
mom. I'm talking about moms in
there's-
general.
there's a little dig.
I'm talking about moms in general.
Not mine.
I feel like
Not mine.
for a girl, moms play a different role. Moms are the nurturers. And although they do determine identity, and I believe that the mom being in the home, well, both parents being in the home is critical. It is different because dads determine the identity of how another man should treat a girl.
That's good.
And so it's a little different. No matter how hard a mom tries, that role is really hard for her to fill.
Yeah.
This is the rule. This is the boundary. This is how you deserve to be treated. Those things are hard to compensate for as a woman because we're naturally a nurturer. We are the one that says, "Oh, it's okay. Your dad didn't mean that."
Yeah.
You know, like that's the kind of people that women are. And so I think that a daughter needs a dad that is reading his Bible and praying and giving boundaries. They don't need a dad that's listening to what the mom says about boundaries, because I know in my life, my mom would always say, "Oh, Scott, whatever," because to her, she nurtures.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for her to set boundaries in place for her children because she naturally nurtures. She wants to care for them. She wants to make sure they're fed and all those things. And so I think having a dad that runs his home is one of the most important things a daughter can have.
It's good. It's
Because
good.
it gives peace to the mother, but it also gives peace to the children that
It's good.
things are being taken care of.
It's good.
Preach it.
Yeah, I
Really
think
good.
also like a dad should love their wife just as they would want their daughter to like if their daughter were like take Faith and Birdie, like Scott, like I don't know how to, it makes sense in my head.
No, keep saying it though, because I've heard you say this before. It's good. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I like it shows you, like from my perspective, it shows me that I need a husband just like Scott treats Stacy.
good.
And I think that like I never had that really as a child, and it's really different to see other people's dads, how they treat their wives and everything like that. And I love how I get to see a mother and a father figure together acting as one under the Lord. And
That's good.
I love that. Yeah.
I think like going
That's
along
good.
with that, like dads like to get protective over like their daughters with like a guy, but most of the time a girl, I don't want to like generalize or whatever, but most of the time a girl will go after someone like their dad. So if you're treating your daughter a certain way, but you wouldn't want another man treating your daughter that way, then that doesn't really line up.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You know what? That's really good.
That'll preach.
Yeah. No, that's really good though. I mean, then that's true.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Yeah. You know what, Faith? What do you feel like that? Well, let's go back. Let me go back to this. All of us, one of the things that we've done in our family is I've always been the one to date you guys, at least in the very beginning. You know, we'll kind of go out on a date and just kind of get an idea of what does that look like and how you should be treated, because I do think that's hugely important. Do y'all remember any of those?
Yes.
We went and saw Finding Nemo,
Yeah, sure
and it broke my heart. Worst movie in the dang world. It's so sad. Why would anybody let their children get lost like that? Terrible. Yeah, we did stuff like that a lot when I was younger. Putt golf.
I don't think she meant to let her kid get lost.
I know, but it's still sad.
Well, yeah.
The movie
Faith
producers.
said, "Why would you let your kid get lost like that?" I think a shark attacked or something like that.
Hope was lost many times at the church, though.
I was lost in Toadsuck.
That's right.
Left.
That's in the
by my
book.
entire
let me tell you,
Last chapter
but-
of More Than Happy.
Let me tell you, your father, Hope wouldn't know. She didn't read the book.
Faith was with Anne.
You hadn't read the book either?
Gosh, she just admitted she hadn't watched the
Hope.
podcast before this too.
Hope, you've not read my book?
You didn't even give me your
World
book.
class daughter.
Hope, I gave you the third copy
You
of
did
the
not-
book.
Third copy.
Yeah.
You never have given me your book.
Wait, where's my copy?
I
Period.
Laney, I put yours on your bed.
No, you didn't.
This is
You did not.
devolving.
We went down the rabbit hole.
Hey, I'm
She's supporting with her pop socket.
It's got a pop socket, okay.
Hope gets a whole chapter. No other child receives that. She doesn't even read
Period.
it.
Okay, I'm the favorite. Sorry.
Ungrateful.
But go ahead. What was being said?
I honestly don't know.
I felt being lost.
I was
That
going to
was good.
say
Go.
about like our date. We went to TGI Fridays, but then after that, Scott decided that he wanted me to drive,
Oh.
Yeah.
and like I didn't even have my permit with me.
I
I
think we've
had my
all done
permit, but Scott was like, "Oh no, you'll be okay," and so he pulled off literally on the road, and he was like, "Okay, you're going to drive. And so I get in the driver's seat and I'm like, I'm so scared. I'm like shaking. Anyway, yeah, very bad. But I mean, it was really fun.
And I think that kind of leads into something too that dads offer that moms, not that they can't, but
Risky.
risk.
Yeah.
Teaching your kids risk. I am the wrecker of all wreckers. I have no ability to drive. I don't know why. I never go over the speed limit, never run a stop sign, but yet I still run into people. And
Stop sign once.
She was speeding and running through a
not
stop
humans.
sign.
Okay.
Not humans.
Her last name.
I was not speeding. Thank you very much.
You did run through the stop sign.
I
though.
did run the stop sign, so that is illegal.
She didn't know that it was there,
I
though.
didn't know it was there. Anyway,
None of us harnesses are good drivers.
no. So anyway, point being,
I'm a lucky
that's
driver.
totally
Well,
not what I was
now.
saying. But
Well, now.
after every single
Miss
wreck,
Girl.
No, that was Stacy. That was not
whenever
me.
you two
I
are
don't even know
done,
what you're talking about.
listen, Becky, simmer.
Go.
So one of the things though that after every single wreck, Dad would say, "You got three
After
fenders."
every single wreck.
Yes.
Shush.
fact.
There's multiples.
There's a point.
Horrible.
Listen. Continue on.
He would say, you have 3 fenders left. You have 2 fenders left. And then at the last one, he was like, well, we're going to get you a new car, so you have 4 more fenders. And I think the point of that was more of a life lesson than he didn't want me to keep running into cars, obviously, because that was scary and horrifying. But I think the point of that was that dads are meant to teach your children that you're going to have to take some risk in life. Mm-hmm. And dads are meant to be the enforcer of that, because us women tend to be more anxious and more worried, and we won't take the risk if it's
Safer.
not for our fathers. And so I think that there are many a time when dad would say, is that worth the risk? And it would be one of those things where he'd talk through, you can't have something great without a risk. And so I just think that is a big part of a father's role is,
Yeah.
and I think moms refer to it as fun.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, there's a story of Hope. Why Hope is the way she is. There was a kite one time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's why I hope the way she is. Excuse me.
So we had, what is a tarp?
Yeah, big tarp.
Okay, and Dad had
Bungee cords.
Was it bungee cords?
His
too?
rope.
And the wind was really blowing that day, and so they were picking it up, and it was like flying in the air. Well,
I wanted to help.
Hope wanted to help, and Mom had been inside. Mom's quite protective, which is good. We need that. But she had been in the house all day, and Dad was like, we're having a blast out here, and she was angry. She didn't want him doing it.
Yeah.
So she comes out to check, and at the same time, Hope gets really excited, and she's grabbing onto the thing, and magically it wraps around her neck.
Yeah, and lifts
she
her off
goes,
the ground.
"I'm flying." And you hear Mom, I mean, like life-changing.
I was like, you gotta say I was like
5, maybe.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
I was
less.
like floating in the air.
But she sure did. She cut her whole neck she was just flying.
Yeah.
I don't remember the pain,
You lived through it, though.
so that's good.
But yeah, and she did. But that was a risk. That was a moment that a mother wouldn't have done.
Yeah. It was a windy day, and we'd had a whole bunch of tarps from doing disaster relief when Hurricane Katrina
Yeah.
hit. So I had one giant tarp. I said, let's go build a kite, So we went out there and strung it out, and I didn't really have a plan. I've never really built a kite, but I knew I had a big tarp, and it was really blowing.
Much of a planner.
It's great. So we had Kendall had some friends over.
Yep.
And they're on one side,
Adam.
and then we're on the other side, and then Hope grabs hold to the rope, and it catches wind and wraps around her neck. Now, Stacy had been in the house the whole time, hadn't even looked out the window until the moment that Hope gets a rope around her neck, and it does kind of pull her up off the ground pretty good.
Kinda. I
But-
was in the air.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty
she
sure she
was-
was purple.
She was flying. She didn't pass out or nothing though. She hit the ground. She was fine.
I
She was,
hit the ground.
yeah. It just drug you a little bit and finally let you go.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
In the air.
But we couldn't play kite anymore for the rest of the day. That was pretty much it. Stacy come off the front porch. It was on a really tall porch. You remember that?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
like
And she never touched
flew.
a step. She just come flying off the porch. It was like, she was like screaming. It was like slow motion. It was just one of those moments that you just have to live down with her, really. Time's the only healing for that kind of stuff.
Hope also wanted a dog.
And I have a dog.
She does, but she wants.
Ian feeds it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, sorry, I lived in Conway.
Oh,
What?
that's the reason.
You want me to
Please.
drive home every night and come
Listen,
home?
you're here now.
Lived.
She's back home now. So, Mom sends. Well, Mom doesn't want one, but Dad always gives up on the animals. He caves. So we go to get a
Mom
puppy.
loves
We found
dogs
out about a puppy and we go to get one and Mom says, I want the smallest dog there. Seriously. And we get there and there is this huge chocolate puppy.
Oh, you should-
probably like 15 pounds already. The biggest thing, his little belly's touching the ground. And Dad's like, that's the one we want. I was like, Dad, Mom said no. And he was like, oh, she doesn't know. She'll love it. And we bring that thing home and Mom was like, are you, and it is like a pterodactyl now. I mean,
Yeah, he's
the
huge.
size
A
of-
pterodactyl.
Yeah,
he's huge. His paws are like the size of my face.
That's truth. He's a big old dog.
Dad's always been for an adventure.
Big old dog.
so cute.
It was good. Good.
I think she'd freak if we had Luna though.
Yeah.
I'd
They have to
freak
be close in size.
Yeah, big. So what else do you guys see? What do y'all see from daughter's perspective about parenting or about dads? What do you see, maybe even in your friends' lives, especially if you're going to talk about something bad, talk about somebody else. But in your friends' lives or whatever, that you see that the role of dads and how important that role is, and what do you think? How does that help? How does that help, and what should dads look like?
I think like looking at like some of my friends, like their dads don't enforce things. They say what they want to say and then they don't enforce it. And then the daughter's like, oh, so I can do whatever I want because you're not gonna follow up with it. And I think like following up, you're really good at following up with that and knowing that it's going to be like you say it is all the time.
It's good.
And I think that's goes with stability and like knowing where your dad's place is in your life.
The one thing that I love about your perspective, Lenny, is that I think that having, you have multiple experiences. So you kind of have a reference point of something that's different. I think that's really cool.
I think
Really,
I've been through every single thing like of like the passing, but also the stepdad phase and
Yeah.
also the adopting phase or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
have a few things.
Throw it out there.
Lord.
Go ahead.
Here we go.
I mean, just seeing from like my friends' perspective, like going through high school and college now, I think there's a few, but one is that divorce is so common these days.
Yeah.
And I don't think that parents really understand the impact that has on their sons and daughters, but especially daughters, because that's what we're talking about right now. But that's a really big impact. And I don't know. I think we need to be more careful of who we marry and who we decide to have kids with and why we decide to divorce. Because that ruins your kid for the rest of their life. It doesn't ruin them, but it impacts their life greatly for the rest of their life. And then another one is you, as a father, you are your daughter's protector.
Yeah.
And I think that dads just don't really see that a lot of the time. A lot of the dads don't really see that anymore. There's so many stories of girls being raped or being kidnapped or just because their dad let their 15-year-old go to a party or something. So it's just it's just so common these days, seeing girls getting taken advantage of. And I know that obviously that can't be always avoided, but there's just some dumb reasons that girls are put in that place these days. And I don't remember the last one.
Well, I know that with when we went to premarital counseling, me and Brady went to premarital counseling here, and one of the things that Mark said was that a woman's greatest need is security.
Yeah.
And, whether that's financial or just where they're going to be staying, their trust and their loyalty, can I trust that what you say you're going to do, you're going to do? And I think that that's not just with spouses, that's also with family, and that's with dads. And so I think that one of the things that dads really have to pay attention to, especially in divorce and things, is are you still giving and providing security for your daughter?
Yeah.
And because that, so one of the things Mark said was that if a person is grown up in chaos,
Yeah.
they'll look for chaos in their marriage. Or if a person's grown up in chaos, they'll look for any kind of security, but it's not always the right security. And so, as a dad, that responsibility, and I've seen a lot of girls come through and they date somebody that they know is not good for them, but it's that I think this is going to be more secure than what I have right now, because it feels so unstable. And so I just think that a dad that makes mistakes, because it's always going to be something, you're always going to make mistakes, is better than a dad not being in your life at all.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that that's something, dad made some mistakes, two of them. Yeah.
But we can't remember them, but go ahead.
Whatever. But, dad made some mistakes, but he was always there. And I think that was the security. He did do some things that he wouldn't do again, but there's not one thing that I would say and go, oh my gosh, I don't feel safe. And that's because he was there and he worked to glorify the Lord no matter what, in spite of his mistakes. And I think that's the biggest part is nobody's asking for a perfect father. You're not going to have a perfect daughter either. We all made mistakes and we all gave our parents runs for their money, and we still do. And we probably don't plan on changing that. But the one thing that's consistent is that everybody's always here and we're willing to put in the work to make the relationship happen.
It's good. It's good. It's really good. What would you girls say identity wise? How do you see your dad, his role in your identity, in knowing who you are so that you can make decisions? How big is that?
I mean, I think obviously your identity should be in Christ all the time, but at the same time, I think it's more effective when your dad is going, you're beautiful, you're worthy, Jesus loves you, and stuff like that. I think a lot of dads don't do that because they feel like they can't be vulnerable to their daughter because they have to be the strong one, and they can't, I don't know. It's just, sometimes it's like that. And so I think just reminding your daughter that you have bad days too, and it's okay, but you're still perfect. I mean, like, you're not perfect, but you're still perfect in God's image.
You bet.
And stuff like that. So, yeah.
It's good.
Well, and if you think about it, God is referred to as the Father. And I think that there's no accident that we are sent a father here on earth. And although many times, and we talk about this all the time, that, we can have a father figure in God if our fathers choose not to have that relationship with us, or that's not an option. But I do believe that the reason the Father is here is to show the relationship that God's supposed to have to us.
Yes.
The Father is God. The mother is supposed to be an example of Jesus, the nurturer, the care, the love, the sacrificer. And so they're supposed to come together as one, and that's supposed to show me what God wants to have with me. And so I think that identity is literally etched into every single family. He's trying to give me a visible, down-to-earth example of what he is in heaven. So I think that if, you being there and being a part of my life gave me the opportunity to see what God and Jesus really looked like in harmony. It's not always perfect. We're human.
Sure.
But it did give me what it was supposed to look like, what that identity was supposed to look like. So I think it's huge for girls.
It's good. It's good. One other thing that I think is important is that, even in parenting, I wasn't the same dad to each one of you, because you required something different.
Yep.
With you, Faith is, has been like an adult since she was 4. She was always the one that the parents would call us and go, hey, I'm on the fence as to whether I'm going to let my daughter go to so-and-so. Is Faith going? And we're like, yeah, Faith's going. They're like, okay, she can go then. It wasn't like, they didn't ask who the chaperones were or what adults would be there. Is Faith going to be there? Well, Faith's going to be there. She's going to handle me, which makes you the perfect oldest daughter because you still kind of have that nurturing, caring, controlling kind of deal, which is controlling in a good way. No, I really mean it. So for you, the parenting, what I needed to bring into your life was I need to unleash you because you're going to be safe naturally. You are already, I've got to make sure things are done a certain way. It needs to look, and I need to be the one to give you a license that, hey, there's another fender on the car. It'll be fine. What I'm saying? They make more cars. It's fine. Nobody died. you're good to go. Everybody runs into something, maybe not quite as often as you do, but I mean, still, it's going to be all right. You know, we'll get another car, we'll put another wheel back on this one, or we'll put green duct tape on it, which ultimately made her cry when she went to college.
Yes, it was embarrassing.
She had a station wagon that was used
Suzuki.
for a Suzuki station wagon that was used for a impaired person, and it had like the crane for the wheelchair in the back, and all of us still in there. Well, she'd already hit every corner of it, and so it knocked it. She hit the back corner of it so hard it popped the tail light out. So all I had was green duct tape, so I had to duct tape that back in. I thought it looked good.
I always joke if the worst thing that I did as a teenager was wreck my vehicles, it's better than some people.
It wasn't the wreck that bothered her, though. It was just the dents on all corners, the crane to pick up the wheelchair,
And the green duct tape.
the green duct tape.
It was
And she's
piling up on me.
I remember that night. She was bawling her eyes out when Dad put that green duct tape on.
That's all I had.
Was
I was like, why
outside
green?
just screaming.
I had a gold car with green duct tape. I was
Listen.
like, for the love of everything, is there any other
you can't
color?
pop your tail light out and not have to just deal with it. But anyway.
So Hope, where's Hope's
But the
parenting?
difference,
Hope.
I'm going to get to it. The difference with you is that I had to, and still do. My role is to unleash you and let you have more freedom, because you tend to be more concerned about every detail, and you'll finish those details, but those details sometimes hold you back. But at the same time, you're never one that we ever have to, you don't have to be worried about. Now, Hope is the opposite. Hope is the opposite. Hope has to have governorship, you know.
Yeah, Hope doesn't get freedom.
No. Hope doesn't get freedom. Oh my Lord.
Mistreated since birth.
Hope
Shut up.
Hope is an adventurer.
Yep.
Hope is going to go for it.
Yep.
She is.
No matter what.
You put her on the cliff. She's like, okay, I'm ready. You know, well,
Yep.
hold on. We got to put a harness on first. Nah, we don't need it. Let's just go.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
well, why can't I go? Well, it'll kill you. Well, would I really die that fast? You know, it's like,
All the questions.
you know, exactly. So Hope was she's that adventurer, go for it kind of person. And so, we have to give her limitations because Hope doesn't know where the boundaries should be. And I don't mean that in a moral way. I don't mean immoral. Now, I do think there's times where it's too big of a risk. It's like, that's a big risk, so let's don't do that. But at the same time, both of you have always had a good moral compass. It wasn't like I was having to worry about crazy
That's
stuff.
why we
that you're
argue all the
doing.
time, because Hope wants to do something that I don't think is a good idea.
Yeah, it's the perfect balance. It really is. Now, Lainey's a combination of the two,
Yes, she is.
but Lainey, my role in Lainey's life is different in this way, is that because she has not been with me from the very beginning, I feel a real responsibility to prove that I'm safe. So there's like this, I feel like inside of me that one of the things I want to do is not only am I here to form and Lainey has to be unleashed on some things, because she'll, the thing about Lainey is if you tell Lainey, say, look, you don't need to do that, it's a bad idea. She won't do it. And she would never do it again. She's like, that's done. It's off the table.
I'm like, nah, I just put it to the side.
Yeah, I'm never gonna do it. So you kind of have to be real judicious as to what you tell her to put boundaries on. But at the same time, my role as dad is I need for Lainey to know that I'm safe for her, and that like with you two. As a biological dad, even physical boundaries and stuff where you'll sit in your lap or whatever, it's a little different with us. We work through those things, but I just feel like I need to be sensitive to what is the comfortable boundary for Lainey when it's physical, because I do think physical touch with your daughter is really important. I think hugging, what happens is dads feel awkward when your daughter gets to a certain place of her development. You know what I'm saying? You feel kind of weird because you're woman-like, and because our culture is so broken in that reality, what happens is we stop touching them on their shoulder, stop hugging, we stop, those things. And I think that sets your daughter up to fail. She needs to know that physically, there's somebody that can be safe with her, and your dad, you need to be able to be safe with your dad. It's one of the tragedies of our community is all this sexual brokenness that's in the family, where dads are so broken because of it. They haven't been safe with their own daughters. And so it leaves the daughter. And even when a dad is super distant from their daughter, whether it's emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, or physically. When a dad does that, then it leaves your daughter hungry for that. So she's looking for a relationship because she's going to have a desire to be cared for. And when I say physically, I'm not talking about in a weird way. I'm talking about you loving and hugging your daughter in the way that a dad should love and hug and care for their daughter. And I think that if we don't do that, then it leaves you with a void.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, you said, how does a dad treating a daughter affect her identity? I never answered that one because I forgot. But, but I think like wrapping everything that we've said in this entire video could answer that question. It's just how you treat your daughter at all, physically, mentally, that's going to go into her identity. And she may not even know that is affecting her identity. But if you don't protect your daughter, no one's going to protect her, which means she's not even going to know what that feels like to be protected, or to be someone to say, hey, text me when you get home. Like, I want to know that you're safe. Stuff like that. She's not even going to know that she desires that, but in our soul, we desire that.
Yeah, kind of like Life 360 stuff.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah, so that's how you keep up, and you just make sure that they're okay.
No.
And everything. Yes, no, it's important.
You don't even have it on. It says no network.
you don't even have
off.
Life
Listen,
360.
the technology person remember, Stace and I are one flesh.
Oh.
So she's handling that side of it. You know what I mean? That's what the Bible says. What God has joined together, let no daughters try to separate it out. That's what it
That's
says.
not what I meant.
Yeah.
But
Scott won 3.
but the thing is that if a daughter will start to notice probably about 9th grade, the impact their parents' lives had on them.
Yeah, it's good.
Because they're going to start looking for friendships that fulfill them. They're going to start looking for boyfriends that fulfill them. They're going to start deciding which direction they're going to go with their lives, college or otherwise. They're going to start having some failures that cost them. I mean, really, up until about 9th grade, you don't really have any failures that matter.
Yeah.
I mean, and not just they matter for your life, but they don't matter for your life, if that makes sense. And so I think that if you are a parent that hasn't been there, and your child's a teenager, I see a lot of parents kind of give up. Don't give up. It's not too late.
It's good.
It's not something that you can't come back on now. That's going to be some decision of their own to trust you. That's going to be a decision of their own to start letting you in, but you have every right to be their parent. And I think even if they're adults, I still talk to my parents every single day, obviously. They're my boss. It gets weird sometimes, but for the most part, I talk to them about personal life. I mean, they're incredibly involved, and I believe even as adults, we need that. That relationship may not look the same, but we need that in every stage of our lives to have our parents. I mean, it just is critical.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Well, and I think there's such joy too in that relationship that you get to have with each one. And each one of y'all, I've had a chance to enjoy, and together y'all are so much fun. I mean, it's not so much fun when y'all are ganging up on me and stuff, but besides that, no.
We just kind of gang up on Hope.
Yeah, really.
Yeah,
Hope,
amen.
yeah,
Amen.
the poor child that's been mistreated. But I love you guys together, but individually, each of you are uniquely different, and that there's such a joy in being able to see the hand of God on that, because, when I look into your life, Faith, I can see what God has planned, and that's the beauty of being a parent, is that God gives you information and understanding and discernment about your kids he gives to nobody else. That's why he says that when a child, raise up a child in the way that they should go, and when they're old will not depart from it. How will you know the way that they're supposed to go? Well, you're going to know it because God's giving you that discernment, Hope you're the same way. There's such creativity and such, so silly, such creativity and such spontaneity and fun. And you're just your like outgoing friendship personality thing where you want to have these friends and you're willing to just jump into the relational things that probably
Nobody.
I don't know.
No, nobody.
Yeah, none. Maybe I don't know. Laney, maybe, but I mean, besides that, I mean, really, Kendall is a relational person, but I think you take him way out over his head. So, and then Laney, the thing about Laney that I love that's interesting in getting a chance to be a part of your life is it's kind of peculiar to have somebody that's your age that understand so many deep spiritual things and have your own spiritual disciplines. And that came from your mom. But it also came from you. I remember, early on, just this joy. Well, I remember seeing you when you were just children's ministry or whatever.
Cupcake.
Yeah, exactly. She brought a cupcake in my office and gave it to me. It's the first time I'd ever actually talked to you, and just super joyful and bubbly and all that. But at the same time, you have this real deep understanding of your relationship with God, and you enjoy that. And that, for me, getting to be a part of that is really, really neat. So
It's also cool because, like, for instance, Lainey is not biologically our sibling, but she's a lot like Mom.
Yeah,
And
she
it's
is.
kind of funny.
Oh my
She's
gosh,
Mom's
crazy.
only child that likes cleaning, and she's the only OCD kid she has. My mom has spent our entire lives cleaning every single thing, single thing, and not one of us kids came out with it. I mean, we are messy as all get up. But Lainey comes in, and her heart beats to cleanliness, and Mom and her united immediately in that one thing.
That's
We
so
can
true.
get the whole house clean in like 30 minutes. I promise.
So
you.
They'll
true.
tackle the task.
More
They don't
power to you.
they make eye contact and then they're like, yes, I'll do
Yes.
that. And they don't even talk. It's like they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is special. It is different because everybody's relationships are different, but yet we all come together and we enjoy it. So
Yeah. And I do think something you said is important too. Honestly, looking forward for people that may be listening to this, whether you're a single mom and there's no father figure in the children's life. Here's one of the things that I'm absolutely confident about. God stands in the gap where there's something missing. Here's what I'll say. You're better off having that absence be filled by what God would do
Absolutely.
than to step out and put yourself in a bad relationship because you think, gosh, my kids need just a male in their life. They don't. And the other thing is that the role of a dad in a blended family is much more complicated.
yes.
It's a very complex role. I think there's more maturity needed for a dad in a blended family than a dad with biological children.
Absolutely.
Just because there's things you have to overcome and there's things you need to be sensitive to and think about, and you have to think a step ahead of where you are. So your kids are better off with no dad figure at all in their life than having a bad figure, and having a bad relationship. So I see women sometimes, especially single moms, real desperate, and you're like, I got to get somebody. At the same time, let me say this. When you're dating as a single mom and you have kids, which obviously be a single mom, if you're dating as a single mom, you have to look beyond what your needs are.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because you're
Yeah.
not dating just for you. You are now dating for your family. And I would caution you, before you even introduce this dude to your kids, you need to have in your mind, and you need to have run through a process of courtship and selection to say, this person meets the standard that I'm looking for before I'd ever let my kids see them. Or they have to constantly deal with this separation thing.
Yeah.
The other thing is you'll go full bore into a relationship and maybe they fit you, but if they're not a good dad, you don't want to do that. You don't want to leave your kids in that kind of situation. So,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
God fills the gap.
Yeah, he does.
And he'll fill the void for your children if there's no father there. He will, and
Well,
there's
be consistent in church. I mean, there are men here that
Yeah.
serve every week in the kids areas and the student ministry, and they know one of their biggest roles is to help fill the gaps for children that don't have dads. I
Yep.
mean, that's one thing that they do. They are intentional in that hour to walk through life with them, to talk to them, to have conversation with them. I mean, God will fill that gap.
Yeah.
With himself, but also with other people that can help in that role. And that doesn't require a dating relationship to have that.
Yeah, we run our volunteers through the weirdo meter too, just to make sure, you know what I'm saying? Because you can have some weirdos, you know what I mean? Even going to church, weirdos. So we work real hard not to have that too. So anyway,
I
leave
think
that
that's
there.
one thing that I have found like my security in like God, because I knew that there were so many people that were in and out of my life, or guys mainly, that were in and out of my life that I knew I couldn't find my security in because or that would help me to look to Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think that's like why personally my relationship with God is so important to me, because it's the thing that has got me through literally everything. Like the only thing that I've went back to, and like, because your mom is like a nurturer and stuff, obviously, and so you can't really, it's like a different relationship.
Sure.
And so I think God was the one that I got through most of my stuff with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and I think something too, and this is for another day, but I think one of the things too that we could testify to, Lainey, you and I, is that there's a process of we made the decision to obviously we wanted you guys to be our children in our life. You made the decision that you wanted to be there, and that we it was kind of a something we decided together. Yeah. But there's still this process. There was a time where you needed to learn who I was, and I had to learn who you were, and we had to give ourselves a chance for that to work. I think sometimes in a blended family, I think there's a pressure that's put on you, whether you're a stepmom or stepdad or whatever, for relationship to grow and develop that just needs time. You might have too much expectation for it, which Lainey moves quickly. I mean, Lainey's she's like a rocket.
Good and bad. Honestly.
She's like a rocket, in those kind of things. But I also think too, if you look at our family hope for you, when Lainey and the boys came into our life, you were the baby. And that you've become face laughing because
There's still baby traits.
but you became but you became the middle child, one of the middle children, and I think you've adapted to that really well. I mean, honestly, for me, when I look at you as your dad, one of the things that, and we talked about these things. These are things that I would say, hey, hope you should be, and you'd be like, and now things naturally happen. You and Lainey have a relationship that's it's sister-like, but it's also
like a friendship.
Yeah, friend, sister. Everybody gets on each other's nerves. I mean, all of us do. I don't get on y'all's nerves, but I mean, y'all get on each other's nerves and stuff.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But I think that in family in general, you just have to have grace.
You do.
You are around people the most, and what they do hurts the most. What they do annoys you the most, and there's really no way to get away from them. You live together. So if you're going to be in a healthy relationship and not constantly leaving, you're going to have moments where you could.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
You're going to have what? You're going to have moments where you're going to want to knock somebody out, or you felt left out. You didn't know something, especially in a family our size.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 10 of us plus 5 significant others now.
We can just say
plus
60.
3. Anyway, there's like 59 of us. So it is one of those things where, you're just going to have grace.
Yeah.
And you're just going to have to let things work out. And sometimes things are just awkward and you just got to keep pushing through. Yeah. You just got to keep making the relationship, keep striving for it. It doesn't mean you have to have the same relationship with every single person in your family. Like you don't have to be BFFs with every single person, but we do work super hard to have a relationship.
That's true.
And especially with the blended family and those kind of things, half of us were grown. That's even more complicated because you don't know where everybody feels and all those things, but you strive to make a relationship. You strive to love each other in whatever capacity that looks like at that moment. And I think that's big for dads, moms, kids, and alike. There's been things that dad's done that's made me so angry I could knock him out. But you know what?
Sorry.
And he's done the same thing. He's done the same thing. I'm sure he's felt the same way about me at times. Nope. But whatever. But the thing about that is that relationship doesn't. I'm not going to stop having that relationship. And so, and that's just, everybody's got to do that. Everybody's got to just have a relationship and keep pushing in that relationship, because when you give up, I've seen a lot of families give up and they'll look up and go, I don't even know what we were mad about. Yeah. And it's 5 years down the road and we haven't talked.
That's good.
So as a daughter, we have equal responsibility as we get older to also carry the relationship with our parents.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things is that you just have to understand that you are going to go through things together. Yeah. You just are. There's going to be disappointments, there's going to be difficulties, but we keep pressing forward. We still work on the things that we can work on. Yeah. And I think us being able to be on mission together makes a big difference. Yep. I really think that's I don't know if people really understand how much of a difference that makes. I know I'm a pastor, so people think, well, that's the natural. It's really not. No. Most preachers' kids go just the opposite. But we have a chance. We do mission together, and I think that's been super, super helpful. And it's not that we're weird. It's not like, we have this weird group of folks that are like peculiar. I mean, I think we have a standard we set, but I mean,
It's like the glue that holds us together pretty much.
I agree with that.
Well, I mean, it's not even like technically like together. I mean, it's like together, but I mean, like, it's not like you have to You know what I mean? Like facing
No.
kids ministry and
Oh,
dad's
okay.
speaking, and
Yeah.
we're all in different places.
Yeah.
But as long as you're serving,
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. Sorry.
No, I think that's a good point though. But I mean, in the end, our purpose is we're all going in the same direction.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
So it's not like
It-
weird.
And you know, one of the that's true. But you know, one of the things that we've never experienced, and I don't, and again, I don't, I'm not saying that we won't. But what we've never experienced or haven't experienced thus far is like this season of crazy radical rebellion, where you know, where Faith decided she's going to run off and you know do something crazy. I can't even think of anything crazy you'd do, Faith. So it's not even gonna work.
I'm about to say, pick Hope.
But you know, well, Hope's going to college. I mean, this would be the time to do something crazy. If you were going to do crazy stuff, this would be you're crazy to be showing right now. But even handling that well, you know,
Yeah.
Lainey's fixing to go to college too. So there's just these, and Kendall, you know, that we just have never experienced that. And I really lean into this
I
one
guess it's time
reality.
to tell you now. Just kidding.
But just honest conversations.
Yeah.
Talking about things as you struggle. Mom has talked to me about the nasty and stuff, and it's awkward. But you know what? Listen, here's the thing.
I have not had that conversation with my
thumbnail
mother.
right there.
I had that conversation with
But yeah, I talked to Hope. Anyway, point
I mean,
being,
I feel like you just can't figure it
but
out.
point being is, whoa, back up, reverse.
reverse.
The point I was trying to make though is that my parents have always had an open relationship about talking about things and working through things.
And that was your mom that talked to you.
yeah. Yeah. But anyway, but we all act like it's awkward. But if we're not the ones to talk to our parents,
Yeah.
then we'll talk to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so we've had some things, you know, we've had some hurts and some upsets, especially in the church. And
Yeah.
we had to process through those things. And our parents brought us in and were like, hey, these are the things that we want you to know about this. And Dad would always say, you know, we want you to know these things because we want you to know what's happening, but we also want you to know that you're safe and you're protected here and that we're never going to let anything hurt you. Like that's my responsibility as your parent. But also, you know, being a follower of Jesus is messy and it's going to have some hurts and some things. And so I think there was always just an open line of communication between us. He trusted me and I trusted him, and all of the kids have been the same way. Of course, we didn't talk about things when it wasn't appropriate.
Sure.
You know, if I wasn't ready for that conversation, but
Yeah.
I think that, I got to have real conversations with Dad and Mom before I was an adult. And I
Yeah.
think that's really important for kids to really, I've not been very shocked about very many things in the world because I was kind of brought into something. So I was prepared for what I was going into.
Sure.
And so I don't have any, like, I can't believe y'all sheltered me that much or anything like that. So
Well, it's also because, I mean, like, I feel like it's so good that it also came from a Christian perspective.
absolutely.
Because whenever you get into it and you're like, wait, I wasn't supposed to do it that way, or like, it's already too late, or something like that, I don't know, it's just so good to have a Christian perspective on it too.
Absolutely.
It's good.
I agree.
It's good. Well, you know what? Let's do.
We've solved all the world's
We
problems today.
we've come a long way. I didn't get near as roasted as I thought I was going to get today.
You
I
didn't
really,
ask near the right question.
I feel really good about part two.
Roasted.
I feel really good. I appreciate each one of you guys for being here today. It's really cool.
Yeah, we need a part two.
Yeah. And I thank you guys for
I
being
think
with
this
us
is
today.
part 3, 4, and 5 today.
But it's how it is. You don't get a full sentence in before somebody's finishing it for you. So what I want to say is that we really would love to hear from you guys. Maybe you're going through some stuff. Maybe you're dealing with your kids and there's some struggles in there. We'd love to help with that. We'd love to pray about it. Leave us a comment. That's the way you do it. That really would be a cool part of it. So anyway, what I'd like to do is I'd like to pray for you before we get off here and just wish you well. So let me pray for you. Father, thank you for each person, God, that's been a part of this podcast. I pray your blessing upon them, God. I pray that you will do a mighty work in their life. I pray for those who are struggling and suffering, God. I pray for the parents who are wrestling with whatever it is that's in front of them, God. I pray, Lord, that you'll be with them in a tangible way and that you'll give them your wisdom and direction, God, as they move forward. Thank you for loving us like you do, and thank you most of all for Jesus. Lord, we offer this prayer and give you thanks in his name. Amen. So until next time, I pray God blesses you.